Welcome to I Said What I Said, a sports podcast giving you opinions not heard anywhere else. I'm your host, Brad Wakai, coming to you from Brooklyn, New York. And that is my co-host, Tyson Gentry, coming to you from Missoula, Montana. And Tyson, we got to start focusing on the gridiron because it is sneaking up on me. I don't know if it's sneaking up on you because you're always ready for a little college football and NFL football, but it's starting to sneak up on me. I'm getting a little nervous.
I mean, so now is when I get pissed off because I've been from the moment that both these seasons end, I do nothing but consume as much information that is pointless and serves me in no way as I possibly can. And then NFL and college, we hit this dead spot for both of them for a month. So in a month, it'll have snuck up on me because I'm like in my loop right now of like, oh, I don't know, that recruiting class in 2025 actually looks pretty good. And all that stuff will fly out of my head when Dame gets traded or whatever. But we really just wanted to do this to like just shoot the shit. We don't have any like breaking news or anything like that for people. Right. And obviously, if you listen to the show, you know, last year we broke down every Power 5 conference and then like the best of the rest from the Power 6 and those win totals. And we're going to do that too. But this is just a kind of itching to talk about ball. We just want to talk about football, man.
Exactly. We want to talk about football, talk about college football too. Like we'll have a bunch of NFL stuff coming soon. Like, don't you worry, we're going to get your fix in. But yeah, we need to get our fix in right now. And so we're just going to, like Tyson said, you know, kind of talk about what's been going on, talk about teams, exciting stuff, some questions we may have. And so let's start with the top teams because, you know, Georgia coming off a back-to-back national champs, right? 2 undefeated seasons, or well, I guess not, right? Because they lost in the SEC championship game 2 years ago. But last year, undefeated. And they've been the top dog in college football. They expect to be the same this year, but no Stetson Bennett. You know, is that a big miss? You know, you're going to have a first-year guy in for Georgia, and, you know, we always question their defense. Like, are you ready to say, hey, I still have some question marks about Georgia? Or are you still like, they're firmly number one?
I'm pretty sure Carson Beck is going to be really good. And that's really it. I think Stetson Bennett, like, it's fun to kind of meme on him and like, oh, this dude's so old. He made some big time throws and he made some big time plays with his legs last year in his career at Georgia that like were very, very important to them winning 2 national championships in a row. And that you can't really quantify on a star ranking. Like, I think Carson Beck's going to be really good because in his entire career in football, he's always been like the guy. I don't know if he's going to be a guy that can bring you back from 28-21 with 14 minutes left in the national championship because I haven't seen it. But I'm pretty sure that it doesn't matter who's under center for Georgia to get to at least the SEC championship game because this, like, dude, this team is ridiculous again. Like, it's just blue chippers.
Mike Bobo replacing Todd Monken, who's the new offensive coordinator at the Baltimore Ravens. Apparently, it's not going to change up too much. We'll see, right? Like, you know, everybody says that, and they get in there and they're like, woo, this is my time, baby. I'm going to show everybody. I'm curious to see how that looks, you know, especially with Carson Beck, who we assume is going to win the starting job this year. You know, do they get a little bit more run happy? You know, if things go a little bit wrong, does Kirby kind of go back to his roots? Hey, let's just go ground and pound and let our defense kind of handle it, you know? So I'm not ready to pull the plug on Georgia either. I'm just saying, before we get into our SEC breakdown, Tyson, am I eyeing another team? Oh my gosh, I don't know. I need to do some more read on it. But right, you know, obviously Georgia is ranked number 1 preseason by Athlon Sports in their magazine, as they should be, right? 2-time national champions in a row. You know, these are the top guys in college
They're
football.
Bringing back like Smile Munden and Dumas Johnson and Brock Bowers, and then Ladd McConkey's coming back too, isn't he?
He is.
Yeah. So at a certain point, like, you're just hoping that they miss on some of these recruits because the defensive line has been ridiculous for the better part of 5 years. The linebacking core is going to be ridiculous if everybody stays healthy. Like, the defense is just going to be the best. So if the offense is pretty good, they're going to win.
What do you think about Alabama this year? Like, you know, we got to talk Alabama if we're talking college football, but I mean, there's like major questions there, right?
So this is the first time in a minute that I've been like kind of iffy on what Bama is going to look like. And it's because this is the first time in a minute where we haven't known for sure who Bama's quarterback is going to be going into the season. Right. And this really feels, and call me crazy, this might be a 2011 or 12 or whatever iteration of the Alabama offense because, like, the receivers didn't get much better versus like where they were last year, and that was the weakest position. And what have we seen Nick Saban kind of rely on in those situations? Last year it was still a lot of spread because like you have Bryce Young, you can't take the ball out of his hands in these really important games, really important moments. And so to me, this might be a lot of like quarterback run, think like not quite what Auburn ran with Cam Newton, but something similar. Like if Milroe or Simpson are who we've been led to believe, this might be we're going to run the ball 40 times. Good luck.
Because this backfield is completely stacked. Like, and as Alabama backfields always are. But I don't know if Jalen Milroe is going to be the quarterback, Tyson, because they brought in Tommy Rees to be the new offensive coordinator who was formerly at Notre Dame. Tyler Buckner transferred in from Notre Dame to pair with Tommy Rees. Like, are we going to have basically Notre Dame South down here? Again, we have no clue who the quarterback's going to be. It's insane.
Or it'll probably end up being like Ty Simpson because that's the one that we didn't like go all the way in on.
Right.
But Bama's offensive line last year was also like disappointing. That's a huge deal. And I think that's like the most underrated part of the freaking Death Star that Nick Saban built over there is like every year they had one of the best units in college football as far as the offensive line goes. Last year they had like 100 flat penalties, something like that as a unit.
Bad.
That can never happen for any good team, let alone one coached by Nick Saban. And dude, I'm 50. I hate Alabama. I'm an LSU fan, but like I can't be the one to say at what point is this dude going to walk away because he's earned the right to walk away whenever he wants. But if they're disappointing again, like that's going to get louder.
LSU. Now, all right, let's jump to LSU because you mentioned them because, like you said, you're a fan of them. In our Chalkboard app, which we'll tell about at the end, you already gave out a bet for win total over on LSU. But are you starting to get nervous that there's a lot of noise surrounding the team? Like everybody's hopping on board, they're jumping on the bandwagon.
Yeah, absolutely. That's like my least favorite thing of being a fan of any team or like individual. Or it's nice to be unrecognized going into it. 6 is where I've seen them. Where are they at in that poll?
6 in Athlon Sports.
Yeah, I just think right now, currently, I don't know why you would put them like above Caleb Williams at this point in the offseason, like because we haven't seen anything. We're going to know right away when they play Florida State because Florida State's going to be really good too. But Jaden Daniels was good last year, like better than probably I expected, and I think a lot of other people. Mason Smith is coming back. Harold Perkins was like the freshman of the year on defense in the SEC. And what Brian Kelly was able to do with a group that didn't, and people don't really know this, I don't think, they didn't like meet each other until like 2 months before the season. He had like 49 scholarship guys compared to 70 for all these other schools. So that wasn't like really what he wanted this first year to look like, and it still ended up at 10-3 and a win over Alabama. So I can see why people are excited. I don't think they're going to be able to score as many points as everybody else. And we flipped now in the SEC where it used to be like, hey, if you can score 6 and you have the best defense, you win. But now you got to score 50 on offense as well. And I don't know if they're going to be able to put up 50. Like Tennessee's probably going to be able to put up 50. And Georgia, like no matter who's under center, is probably going to be able to put up 50. And then you can run down the list in the SEC, and there's going to be a lot of other teams there as well.
Yeah, we got to see about Tennessee. You know, obviously losing Hendon Hooker, like Joe Milton, like I don't know, he threw the ball 80 yards. Everybody's like, "Woo, Joe Milton!" Like, has that dude been good at any freaking school he's been at? Like, no.
I'm pretty excited.
I'm pumping the brakes on Joe Milton. I like USC mainly, or LSU mainly because, like, I'm probably like the biggest Brian Kelly fan out there. Like, I've defended him even when he was in the gutter, which was like never in terms of his coaching ability. But people just don't like him. So anything that goes wrong, they're like, it's Brian Kelly's fault. Like, dude, the guy's a great coach. Like, people don't understand how hard it is to coach at Notre Dame in today's age with the academic requirements, with the level of talent everywhere else. And the dude just constantly won there. Did he ever win the big one? No, but he's also running in the freaking Alabama in the national championship game with 30 NFL players while Kelly has like 4. Like, I don't know.
And he gets there's no tune-up there the entire like schedule for Notre Dame. There is nobody like Alabama.
You play Stanford though, Tyson. Like, come on.
It's true. I mean, we're not here to hate on Notre Dame, but this is part of the podcast too. We'll get into the weeds a little bit, but college football is just it's coaches and brands more so than the NFL, because the NFL's parity is so much that year over year, we all think the Commanders might stink this year and they could come out and win the NFC East. Nobody would be like freaking out right now.
Right.
But in college football, like when TCU makes the national championship game, it is a huge story because they essentially come out of nowhere and we weren't expecting them, right? Because we know what to expect in college football. And that's because it's the biggest disparity between like high level coaches and everybody else. You have multiple jobs here too. You're not just coaching, you also have to recruit. And so that's a full-time job on top of the coaching. But coaching in college football, it's the most important job that there is. It's more important than any single position on the field.
I mean, so Michigan, they're the new kings of the Big Ten. They've won the Big Ten championship back-to-back years. There's a ton of hype around them. Like Athlon has them number 2 in their preseason poll. Quite honestly, I think deservedly so. Like they have one of the best offensive lines in the country. Like JJ McCarthy's back for a second season at starter. Like he's a dark horse Heisman candidate. He's a projected first-round draft pick eventually in the NFL. They brought back their 2 leading rushers, Blake Corum and Donovan Edwards. Like this is going to be a really good team. But it's like levels to Michigan, right? Like, oh, they couldn't beat Ohio State. Then they beat Ohio State. Oh, Harbaugh has no Big Ten championships. Well, they have 2 now. Oh, but they can't win in the college football playoff. Like, is this a year they finally break through? I think if they're going to do it, this is the team because it's like everybody's back. Like all the core pieces you want are back for Michigan. Like under Harbaugh, this is probably going to be his best team in this iteration of Michigan. Like they have to have a big year or else it's like it may never happen.
What do you think Harbaugh falls in like the top college coach? I think like tier 1 is to me like Kirby and Saban, and then we can kind of like skip those 2 and go to everybody else.
Right.
But where do you think he fits in the pantheon, so to speak?
Probably the second tier down. Like I think Brian Kelly's in there. I think Dabo's in there. Jim Harbaugh, Lincoln Riley. I think, and we'll talk about them soon, like, Ryan Day with Ohio State, like there's major questions about what's going on there, but I think he's still a good coach. And then those are really the ones I think you can point out and be like, yes, those are the best. Because as much as I have a love-hate relationship with James Franklin, he has a Big Ten championship. He recruits at a high level. He wins double-digit games in a season every so often. But is like that enough to put you on a level with Brian Kelly and Lincoln Riley who do it consistently? Like probably not. And then Jimbo, he stinks now. Like Texas A&M is a disaster. And you just kind of run around the country and you're like, okay, well, we liked Hugh Freeze at Liberty. Like, is he going to be good at Auburn? Like we like right. Billy Napier. Is he going to be good at Florida? Like that's where I think. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think you're probably right. I was just kind of raising that because I don't think it's a coaching issue or a talent issue or anything like that at Michigan. I don't truly even really know why they haven't been able to at least win a college football playoff game, especially last year. I think the universe set up like pretty well up until the playoffs. Obviously, they weren't able to win the game to get to the national championship, but this team's going to be better. Like they realistically might not have to throw the ball like until they play Ohio State.
Right.
They just turn around and hand it to Corum or Edwards.
They got Penn State.
Oh, sorry. The disrespect. The disrespect. But dude, Michigan, this is the year. If they're going to win a national championship, like Georgia has a new quarterback, Alabama looks vulnerable. You kind of run through. Ohio State might have the most draft picks ever on a single team as far as like first rounders go. But also we might be overreacting to all these young guys that we haven't seen have to do it, year over year. So this is like, as far as college football goes, this is as close to wide open as it's been in a minute.
Yeah, and they kind of like moving to Ohio State. So I have questions about Ohio State this year, mainly about their quarterback situation. Now, apparently it's going to be Kyle McCord, but Devin Brown apparently has the higher ceiling. But McCord is a 5-star kid. But I guess there's rumors within that program, based on what I'm reading, that they're like kind of hoping that Devin Brown wins this job, but he broke his finger or something in the spring game. So it's like McCord's going to have the job, but we really hope he sucks so that we can give it to Devin Brown. I don't think that's the smartest way for Ryan Day to go about this thing. Like, you're going to replace C.J. Stroud, who is really good, obviously the second overall pick, but you're going to have safety blankets and Marvin Harrison Jr. Like, he's going to be the first wide receiver taken in the NFL draft, and Buka's unbelievable. Like, the weapons that they have there are insane. But if it doesn't go well for Ohio State, if they lose again to Michigan for the third year in a row, if they don't win the Big Ten championship again, is there a possibility that Ryan Day is fired? As crazy, I think, as it is, that is so college football if he does get fired, though.
That is so funny. Yeah, that's the only. I just went on that long, dramatic soliloquy about how important the coaches are. Then these guys get canned for winning 12 games a year. Dude, you kind of have to think about it. Like if he doesn't beat Michigan and they don't win the Big Ten, and then this is now the new normal, where it's like, oh, so we have just as good as players as everybody else in the country. We're sending just as many guys to the NFL who are actually performing at like a higher level than most other schools, but we still can't beat, Michigan. We still can't win the national championship because we talk about Ohio State. I think they're perceived a little differently than maybe we perceive some other schools like them. Like Ohio State never really went on a prolonged run of success that resulted in national championships. It just resulted in really good teams and really high rankings. But they were the start basically of the SEC winning 9 straight or whatever it was in the BCS era, because they would show up, get their dicks kicked in, and get sent home. I think it happened against Florida and was it LSU the other time maybe, but at a certain they have to win one. We talk about this team oh, it'll happen. It's Ohio State. They're going to win national championship. Well, they haven't in a long time. The Urban Meyer team was probably the most talented team in the playoffs. The LSU team was sick. That 2019 LSU team, so maybe they were a little better, but that Ohio State team, pound for pound, could beat pretty much anybody. It's just that's been a long time now. We're going on a decade of that.
2014. Yeah,
we're going on a decade, and if he can't win one, you almost have to can you blame him? Is the other part of it? Would Ohio State be crazy to do it?
I just don't know who you go and get. Do you dip into the NFL? I know, Brian Hartline, the receiver coach, insane recruiter. Is he ready to that's the thing. Is he ready to run Ohio State? There's a lot that comes with it. It's not just woo, he's awesome at recruiting, really good at wide receiver coach.
CEO,
hey,
basically.
Buddy. Yeah, hey, buddy. Want to run the entire program? Man, that's a big step. So, LSU, they're okay, we need to go get Brian Kelly. We know Ogeron. Okay, thanks for the national championship. It just didn't work out. But if we're gonna move on, we need a big time coach. If we want to compete in the SEC. I think the Big Ten's getting to that point because let's not forget, next year we have USC and UCLA coming over. So this has turned into a big time conference that wants to rival the SEC. I don't think that you can just go, well, Ryan Day's not getting it done. We can just pluck anybody off the street and they'll run Ohio State and we'll win. I think that's a dangerous game.
I do too. It would be, ill-advised maybe, but I don't think that means that they wouldn't do it. That's the thing,
because you got crazy boosters.
Yeah, so there's so much money back there. They're dude, I can't fucking deal with this anymore. We suck. Meanwhile, 99% of teams would trade heartbeat.
Oh, 100%. And so let's talk about USC, who's coming to the Big Ten next year. A lot of expectations. Obviously, the Heisman Trophy winner with Caleb Williams coming back. Lincoln Riley, second season there. They didn't win the Pac-12. Utah just pummeled them in the championship game, but they honestly had a successful season. The problem is that their defense, I still think, is going to be horrible. They have the worst tackling. Alex Grinch. I don't know if he has dirt on Lincoln Riley or what, Tyson, but he's back. He's back. Hey, buddy, you still have a job. But this should be an insane offense. It just should be absolutely nuts, especially playing against flag football defenses in the Pac-12. They're going to put up insane numbers, but Lincoln Riley teams always do. And then you run into the big boys when you play the college football playoff, if they get there, and they get stomped. So that's the expectations, I think, for USC in the second year. They should make the college football playoff. That should be their ceiling. That should be their expectation. It's just what they do when they get there.
Am I a hater for thinking that Caleb Williams might not be a winner?
I mean, we've only seen what? This would be his third year, right? Oh, Jesus. I mean,
I sometimes I go back and forth because he's you said, he hasn't had to do it much, but they didn't win at Oklahoma to the level that you would have liked, and then last year they lose out on the Pac-12 championship and a spot in the college football playoff, and it wasn't all on Caleb Williams because he's out there limping around and stuff because he got busted up. But it also, to me, seems maybe it's more fun to throw for 5,500 yards and, 50 tuds. And then when you start getting punched in the face, you throw the Mahomes limp on. That's the other part that I have in my head. It's tough for me because this dude is he's as close to generational as we've seen in 3 years.
He's special.
Since Trevor Lawrence. Like, I put generational in quotes because that just seems to be a phrase that we say.
Right.
But dude, like, if the defense is allowing 37 points a game again, you're not going to win national championship.
No. You may not pick the Pac-12.
No, that's what you might. Yeah, exactly. Because like Oregon, whatever, but Washington is going to be coming this year. Utah has their number. And dude, we talk about coaches. Is Lincoln Riley a winner?
I think that's a better question than Caleb, because Caleb was a freshman at Oklahoma. So it's like, okay, we'll see. I think last year is a little bit more of an indictment towards that because,
but again, he was hurt. So it's hard for me to be sitting here.
What was it? Tulane when he was.
Yeah, that's true too.
But again, didn't make plays down the stretch. Like, I love Caleb Williams. So we're just being devil's advocate here. I know you're a little bit more towards the offensive question if he's got that winning gene or not.
Well, if he starts winning this year, then it's like he's the best quarterback prospect I've ever seen, dude.
So, yeah, I think the questions are about Lincoln more so than anything, because like you said, Washington should be good this year, like really good, like taking that next step. Michael Penix Jr. back, like Oregon, we'll see with Bo Nix, but they're big and they're going to be physical. So if you have to play them, and then Utah, who has questions about Cam Rising, who tore his ACL, when's he going to come back? But still, it's a Utah football team who's going to be physical. Like, maybe I'm being a little harsh about the flag football defenses in the Pac-12 this year, because it seems like there could be a little more physicality than I'm giving them credit for.
You're throwing it, you're pumping them up right now is what you're doing, because like we have so long until the season. We're just trying to put this notion in your head, and you'll be pissed week 1 when they still don't tackle.
You're right. Okay.
Oregon State's going to be good though in the Pac-12 too. So there's a lot.
And they're physical. They're physical.
Yeah. Look at you.
I can't wait till I prop this up and I'm gonna be like, they're the softest conference. It's gonna be so good. All right, you talked about your team LSU. I can't believe I'm doing this. I'm all the way fully bought into this team.
Good.
Like I'm so ready for my heart to be broken again. Like I just grew it back from all the times it's been ripped out. Like the Michigan and Ohio State losses last year were just like that splintered, and then now it's like fully recovered. Like I'm watching it. I'm ready for Drew Aller. Nick Singleton was unbelievable as a freshman. Katron Allen, unbelievable. Like,
is that what we're going with?
It's going to be awesome.
Is it Aller or Olar?
I think it's Aller officially. Okay. So, yeah. This is the team, I think, that can win the Big Ten. Like, that's their ceiling. Like, they can win the Big Ten. They have Michigan coming in to the freaking Beaver Stadium. Now, it's not a whiteout because apparently that's going to be the Iowa game for God knows why. So it's going to be a noon game. So hopefully that throws off Michigan a little bit. But it's going to be raucous. Michigan struggles to play Penn State in Beaver Stadium. It's just they got to go to Ohio State and win in Columbus, which they haven't done since Vietnam, it feels like. So it's just this is the team, man. They got a high-level quarterback. Already in the spring game, they had more explosive 20-plus yard air yards and plays than they had in Sean Clifford's entire last season. I can't wait to get my hopes up. It's going to look great against West Virginia. It's going to look great in these tune-up games. And then here goes my heart just splintering in half when we lose to Michigan and Ohio State.
Dude, what are you going to do if he's worse than Sean Clifford? Because that's been the safety net now for seemingly a decade.
I'm going to walk with my head in my chest to the Brooklyn Bridge. And I'm just going to leap. Like, it's just going to be so heartbreaking because it's like, woo, we got our 5-star kid. Yeah, we can finally compete with Michigan and Ohio State. You guys got your 5-star kids. Hey, we got our own. And just he stinks. I'm like, oh.
It would be awesome because if you know a Penn State fan, this is what every single one of them has been saying. Like, I didn't meet a single Penn State fan that enjoyed Sean Clifford's tenure at Penn State, and then I don't know one that doesn't think that Drew Aller is the second coming of Ben Roethlisberger or something like that. Like right. Everybody is in on this dude. And honestly, if you watch him play at all in like limited time, probably should be. He looks really good. This is probably the second best backfield in the Big Ten with Singleton and Allen. It's Allen, yeah.
Katron Allen, yep.
So the pieces seemingly are there. Is James Franklin going to be able to put it together for big games? Because I think this could be a Penn State team that beats Michigan and finds a way to lose the whiteout against Iowa. or loses to Purdue, because that seems to be like the way this dude works sometimes, because he gets all of you guys get your hopes up, and then he finds a way at the last second to just humble you just a little bit.
Just a little bit, dude. The Colt needs to be humbled a little bit. That's what James Franklin tries to preach when we lose games we shouldn't be losing. That's what happens. Let's talk burnt orange. I'm curious what your thought. We're gonna do a bunch of deep dives on this, but right now they look so good on paper. So good on paper. Quinn Ewers healthy. You know, they got other. Who was it last year? The transfer from Wyoming, who tore his ACL. Worthy, I think I want to say.
Yeah, Xavier
Worthy. Yeah, Xavier Worthy. And he was an All-American at Wyoming. Like, this should be a really good offensive team. And we talked about Franklin. If he can kind of piece it together, that's kind of where we're at with Sarkisian.
Yeah.
And we picked Texas to win
James
the Big 12
Franklin's better than Steve Sark.
I would agree with that. But we picked Texas last year. Are we picking them again, man? On paper, they look sick.
Well, I was so in on Bijan Robinson being like transcendent last year, and he wasn't like as good as I thought maybe he was going to be. But that was on me for because he was ridiculous. I just put my own expectations on him of like, oh, this is Reggie Bush in 05. Like, they're going to win 11 games, no problem. Quinn Ewers, I thought was going to be really good. We didn't really get a chance to see. And then when we did see for extended periods, you were not very pumped with a lot of those things. Like, what do you have? He was like at one point 16 for 41 with like 5 picks, but he threw for like 350 yards in a game this year because he's pumping the ball down the field. But on the flip side, he almost beat Alabama before he got hurt. Right. And so we don't really know who this kid is, because there are NFL scouts and stuff out there right now that think like he has a chance to be the number 2, number 3 pick in the NFL draft next year. And there are some that are just like, oh, dude, this is Spencer Rattler. Like, I'm not excited about this guy going to the NFL at all. If he's good, this team not only will win their conference, Brad, but the media pump up that like a good Texas team will get.
Oh,
like if this team finds a way to be undefeated going into the college football playoff, they'll jump Georgia if Georgia's also in.
Yeah, people are just waiting for Texas to be good. Like, that is like ABC and ESPN are like salivating at the thought that Texas is in the college football playoff. Like, they're just like, please make it happen. Come on, Sark. Like, what do we got to do here? Because it would be huge. Like, when's the last time Texas was actually like a relevant story besides like, Texas is back. Oh, they suck again. Texas is back. Oh, they suck again. Like, that's what happens every year.
Yeah, it's Colt McCoy probably. And forgive me if I'm forgetting one, but they're good.
What Sam Ellinger, and they won against Georgia in like the Cotton Bowl or Sugar Bowl.
Yeah, the Cotton Bowl. Something.
And then they just blew it the next year.
Won 7 games. Yeah. And that's another thing. Like, at what point do they start looking around at Steve Sarkisian? Because like, you kind of have all the resources that you think you would need to produce a winner. And then Oklahoma loses its head coach and looks like trash last year, and you're not even like able to take advantage of that in the way that you'd hoped if you're Texas. Like, you want to stomp them and win the conference. You don't just want to like skate by, there's a bad Oklahoma team, because they're going to get better. And then you're going to join the SEC and get smacked by everybody. If Sark shows that he can't win 10, 11 games this year, it's going to be really hard to roll into, but it'll also be hard to pick a new guy, and then hop into the SEC West or whatever.
I guess, but like, we saw Heupel do it from UCF and Tennessee. I feel like when there's resources in place, and it feels like Texas has its head on straight for once. Like, they're recruiting at a high level all of a sudden. Now, a lot of that comes with Sarkisian. So, you lose him. Do you lose recruiting? But them going to the SEC, does that bump it? Like, do you bring somebody from that area who knows? Like, there's a whole list of things that could be going on there. If Sarkisian proves that he's not the guy, like that's what we gotta kind of think about there. But I mean, there's a ton of hype around him. I can't believe, like, Oklahoma, man. Like, you mentioned it a little bit. Like, they were a disaster last year. Like, I want to get your thoughts on where we're at, because Venables, man, that was not a good year one. Like, 6-7, first time they had a losing year since 1999. So Dylan Gabriel's back, and we love Dylan Gabriel at UCF, and it just didn't go as expected at the higher level at the Big 12. But year 2, could it be better? Could it not? Like, what do you expect out of Oklahoma?
Effort, hopefully, because that took like 11 weeks, it seemed like, for him to be able to get these guys up and going. Remember, they were holding like open tryouts in the middle of the year. Do you remember that?
Yeah, that was weird. That was super weird.
And that shouldn't happen at a 5-star program like Oklahoma. And Oklahoma is the cream of the crop, basically, in that conference over the last 20 years or whatever. He's got to get it fixed. And I think he did at the end of the year. Obviously, they started playing harder, but then there was still like, oh, this team sucks. And it's not because like they're not trying. It's like these guys aren't very good. Is what it looks like. They don't play defense, and that's kind of the reason you got the job. You coached all these top 5 defenses, and then you get these guys, you get your hands on them, and you're not better than Lincoln Riley's defense, than Alex Grinch's defense. Granted, they did take 90% of the roster, so it's hard to pass too much judgment. I don't think they're going to be good, dude. Just based off like pretty much the lack of give a shit on a lot of those dudes, unless there's been some significant turnover at like every position. I don't think so.
I got to see it to believe it as well with Oklahoma. And they hit the portal hard. Like, Venables, they gave up 30 points per game last year on defense. Like, it's not good. And so, Venables, he's a good recruiter. He hit that transfer portal hard. We'll see. Maybe he brought in his type of guys, not the leftovers. And we'll see. But like you said, man, I got to see it. Like, because last year was just a disaster. Just a disaster. I want to get your thoughts on Clemson, because I know people are either in like or hate Dabo Swinney. Like, I don't know if anybody's like, besides Clemson fans, like, man, I love Dabo. Like, woo. Like, I like Dabo. I think he's a really good coach. But Athlon has them in the preseason rankings at 12. Like, when's the last time we freaking talked about Clemson out of a top 10 program in the country? Like, they won the ACC last year, won double-digit games for the 12th time in a row, and they're going to have a better quarterback this year than they had last year start. By a mile. And I don't even know if Cade Klubnik's even good.
No, I don't care.
He's better than DJ. Like, what are we doing here? Like, this is crazy to me. It feels like it's an out of sight, out of mind thing for me, to be completely honest. Like, they don't have these guys. Like, oh man, Clemson has 17 guys mocked in the first and second round, and they're way too early to look at. And you're like, man, Clemson's loaded. Like, it doesn't feel like they were when they had Deshaun Watson and Trevor Lawrence, like that type of talent. But this is still a very good program.
Yeah, I think they have to turn over like more defensive linemen this year than necessary. I don't have like numbers in front of me, but that's just something I think I remember. So that'll be interesting. But they always crush defensive line recruiting. Like, these guys haven't missed much recruiting defensive linemen in the last 5 years, 6 years. Will Shipley's back. That's pretty huge. And as you mentioned, I don't think people understand that DJU is like bottom of the barrel for competent in college football. Like, he's not even like, I don't think he was even average at like a lot of points last year. And maybe that's being a bit too harsh, but there were so many times where it was like, this is the worst offense.
It was
in
horrible.
The ACC. They against Georgia, if you can move the ball once during that game, you win. Your entire season is different. The entire college football season is different. Even other points in the season, it's like these guys aren't moving the ball against freaking Wake Forest, and it looks bad. And if they're moving the ball this year, they're going to be just fine. This is a top 5, top 6 program in college football.
For sure.
And it feels like last year was a down year, and they were like 8-0 at one point, and then they went 3-3 to finish.
Your boy DJU heading over to Oregon State.
I know.
That's why you're jumping off the bandwagon, I think.
Oh, it's a little different expectations, too. Like, maybe I'll think
fair.
he's fine at Oregon State when I thought he sucked at Clemson.
Right. That's fair. You know what? I'll tell you expectations I'm not buying into, Tyson. Freaking Florida State. Like, the expectations around a Mike Norvell freaking coach team in a program that has underachieved for the past decade is absolutely driving me crazy. Athlon has them as number 7 ranked team. Like, who's their court? Jordan Travis. This guy almost quit the position.
Yeah, but he was nasty last year, dude.
Oh, last year was great.
Yeah, dude, I'm saying this team's good. I think this team's good.
You think so? You're buying in. You're all the way bought in. Oh,
dude, no. They won 6 games to end last year. Jordan Travis looks good. They have freaks all over the place. And then what's his name came back to school? Jared Verse. I think
that sounds right.
The defensive lineman, like, I think this team's really good.
American.
Yeah, this dude, I hate it because I don't like Florida State, and I'm scared of LSU to play them week 1. But like this team could be. I guess I gotta chill because what do I mean by good? I guess top 10 at the end of the year. I could see that.
Like, do you think they win the ACC?
Dude, they could. If Klubnik's not what we think he is, then absolutely they could.
Oh my God! See, that's why I feel like I need to pump the brakes here because everybody's like Florida State. Like this offense is gonna be insane, but dude, it's Florida State and Mike Norvell. Like, I just can't wrap my head around that team can actually be good. I mean, they were pretty good last year. You're right.
Yeah, I think we got to do maybe we'll do like a 6-pack bet or something.
Yeah, we'll figure something out. I feel like those are kind of like the big teams, right? Like those are like the hype teams right now. Like,
I think Notre Dame's getting some love.
How do we talk college football and not mention Notre Dame? You want to talk about?
We made fun of them a little bit.
That's true.
But what do you think is going to happen? Because it started rocky for Marcus Freeman and then it got better. But now this is year 2, and it's like Brian Kelly's guys are being phased out, and like more of his guys are now going to be playing. It's kind of interesting.
I think first I'll say that I think it's hilarious that so Brian Kelly leaves and the whole thing was, well, nobody likes Brian Kelly. Like, look at all his coaching staff didn't go with him. And then like a year later, Tommy Reese is like, see ya, I'm gone too. And nobody bats an eye. It's like, okay, just show your bias a little more, people. Like, you just hate Brian Kelly. It's fine to say it. What do I think? I don't know.
I don't know either.
I have no clue. So Sam Hartman's there. That's going to help. But I don't know. I don't know what to expect from this defense. Like, Freeman's supposed to be the guy, but last year it just, the defensive guy, last year it just was not good. They lost games they had no business losing. They competed in some games. Like, we're going to know a lot when they play Ohio State. Now that's later in the year, but like that's how Notre Dame, could be completely honest, should be comparing themselves. Like, it's not about Stanford. It's not about these other guys. Like, it's got to be Ohio State and the USC.
Well, you shouldn't be, and they're not, I don't think, like, setting out to be just a little bit better than Stanford. I think they want to build a national championship winning team, but we talked about how, it's just different because your guys, at LSU might have to get a 12 on their ACT and they can still get into school. Or like at Notre Dame, you got to be recruiting kids that are getting like 26s in their ACT. They're in extracurriculars. They got good GPAs. And that's like disqualifying a large part of who you can actually recruit to come play football for you. And they still find a way to finish at the top of a lot of recruiting classes. So they do a good job, but it just makes it harder. And then like you walk into this as Marcus Freeman, go 0-2 and kind of right the ship a little bit. Now it's go time because you have to be gunning for not just Ohio State, but like the top spot in college football because you damn sure get paid like it from all these TV companies. People talk about you like it. But if this thing goes south, dude, we're back to Charlie Weiss.
Yeah, that's the thing. If it goes bad, they're going to – jeez, I don't even know what they do.
I think they'd be dead in this version of college football.
Probably. Like, they need a conference, first of all. Like, the independent thing's not going to work out. Like,
that's what I'm saying. And then everybody's jumping ship left and right, transferring schools. Like, it's not going to be like when they were able to rebuild early in the decade or early in the 2010s or whatever.
I agree. All right, so other storylines that either you're paying attention to or like looking forward to, want to dive into, anything that you want to close with?
Like how good is TCU going to be? How good's Tulane going to be? That's what I think. Because if you listen to any of our shows last year at all, I love Tulane. It's like my favorite team to watch. We have league pass teams for the NBA. Tulane's my Thursday, Friday, Saturday night. No matter when they're playing, I'm watching, man. I think they have a chance to, like, I don't know where they're going to open. Where are they at in that poll?
22 in Athlon.
I think that they have a chance to be like top 15 this season, which is pretty cool.
Man, they're ranked ahead of TCU in this preseason poll according to Athlon. Just for your thoughts.
I think they might be better. I think they are better, but if TCU replaces and gets a new number one quarterback, a new number one receiver, and a new number one running back, then Sonny Dykes might be able to turn that into something cool. He might win 3 games, though, because that's kind of the experience you get.
I'm paying attention to. So this is like the first big movement of the Power 5 conferences. Like we have Cincy coming in, UCF coming in, not SMU. Cincy, who is it? Cincy, UCF, BYU. I knew this off the top of my head, and of course now I'm forgetting. This is terrible. Oh, what? That's Pac-12. I know it's Cincy, UCF, BYU for sure. Who else is joining? Why can't I think of them?
No.
Well, anyway, so they're expanding. This is going to be interesting to see how these guys come in. Oh, Houston, that's the other one, of course. BYU, Cincy, Houston, UCF. They're coming in this year. Like we're going to get our first look at like a Power 5 expansion that's coming. Obviously, USC and Oklahoma are on their way out, and then next year the Pac-12 is going to lose a couple with USC, UCLA moving out. How well do they adjust this higher level of play? Like we saw Cincy under Luke Fickell be able to make a college football playoff. He's gone now. He's at Wisconsin, which I don't think they foresaw when they got signed onto this thing. And UCF's been a powerhouse for a while, but they've taken a little regression steps. Like they haven't been the powerhouse at their level. And BYU has been independent. I'm curious if they're going to be the floor mats of this conference early on, if they're even going to be able to recruit at a high level. If I had to guess, Houston is probably going to be the best one quickly out of that conference, just based on the fact of their proximity in Texas. So that's what I'm paying attention to.
You think if Cincy can keep it rolling, though, they have a shot too. I mean, that's just a huge ask. That feels like almost a little bit unfair because that's just like you're doomed from the start almost.
Yeah. They're gonna have. It has. I feel like it has to be quick for Cincy. You know what I mean? Like they have to come
be
in
right
quick.
now. Yeah, it'd have to be boom. And maybe they've recruited well enough, but I guess we're gonna find out, dude. I'm pretty pumped up. This is.
Oh, I'm so pumped, dude.
Yeah. Also, watch the FCS if you don't. It's fun.
All right. So, like Tyson mentioned at the front, at the top, like we're gonna do our in-depth breakdowns. Like this is just a little appetizer. Like we just wanted to talk college football. You know, just get our juices flowing, get everybody ready for it because it's coming quick. Like I can't even believe it. Like less than 70 days, I think, right, for week 0.
Yeah. What is it? It's always like the last week of August or the second to last week in August.
Jeez.
Because we have week 0 and then we have week 1.
Exactly. Right.
For some reason, that's just fine from the collegiate. Come on,
the collegiate perspective.
Yeah.
But tell everybody. So we're gonna have picks. Obviously, we're gonna be doing breakdowns, win totals, and everything. The rest of our picks can be found where?
It's in the Chalkboard app. It's on the App Store, Google Play, wherever you get your apps. It's the group name is ISWIS Roundtable Bets. It's Brad, myself, and a handful of others just kind of picking and choosing what we want to play that night. And it's once you're in there, you're in. You can post pretty much whatever you want for whatever sport you're watching, and we'll tail, we'll fade, or you can tail and fade us. Because last time we were hopping in there, we did not have the NBA draft that we wanted. We did okay. We got 1 or 2 things through the uprights, but it wasn't great. And so we're just on Front Street with it. So just hop in there and post whatever you're playing, man. We'll probably tail.
Absolutely. And in the meantime, if you're watching us on YouTube, like the show, subscribe, make sure you hit that button. And if you're listening to some podcast form, Apple, Spotify, or whoever else, make sure you say subscribe there, rate, review, share the show. It goes a long way in helping us become more discoverable. If you like the show or if you hate it and you want to just like hate somebody and you're like, hey, send this, listen to this, and you want to blast their ears, go ahead and do that too. It helps us out. But stay connected with us on our social media pages. In the meantime, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, it's all the same handle at ISWIS_pod. So I'm off for a family vacation during the 4th of July week. So Tyson's by himself. He's going to miss chatting with me. I can already feel it. But we can already feel that there's going to be some crazy stuff happening in the NBA. So if you're a big basketball fan, we'll have all the stuff that's happening after I'm back, breaking everything down on that front. And then we're going to start our breakdowns of the NFL and college football. So a lot more to pay attention to going forward. So we hope you have a great 4th of July, great holiday. We'll speak to you all then. And after then, peace.